This week in 1954, Jet magazine featured this odd couple in its Mr. and Mrs. section. They weren't celebrities or anyone of significant historical importance in the grand scheme of things. They were just plain old everyday civilians like you and me, who got themselves involved in some hot mess. Well, maybe they weren't exactly like us. I'll read the story and add my commentary, and you can decide if they were like you. Let's get into it. But first, if you like these videos about the most scandalous people from yesteryear who make the hot mess history with Ty Said What Ty Said channel a time capsule for the culture, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know every time that I upload one of these videos or every time that I live stream. And comment "I subscribed" in the comment section so that I can say hello to you. Now, on to why you are here. Today's story comes from this issue of Jet magazine, dated June 24th, 1954. The article is titled, "Finnish Beauty Goes Back to Her African Prince," and it reads, quote, Sinikka Toivonen, the 20-year-old Finnish beauty who married Prince Arde Ankara of the Gold Coast and then left him after 3 months, rejoined her African husband in Germany and announced she would return with him to Africa. Ankara, a fire-eating dancer with a traveling circus, had been trying for a reconciliation since his bride went home to Helsinki in 1952. Miss Toivonen, who sought a career in show business, had been earning her living as a Helsinki fairground mermaid who fell into a water tank when customers hurled balls and hit an electric button. End quote. Wow, what an amazing entertainment career. First, I have to say that almost every other source that I have seen about this couple says that they got married in January of 1954. So I really think that Jet got it wrong when they said that the prince had been trying to reconcile with his bride since 1952. Also, I don't know if Jet was trying to cover for him and make him seem less creepy, but Jet says that she was 20. Every other source I have seen says that she was 18 when they got married, as shown in this January 17th issue of the Honolulu Advertiser, and she was 17 when they met. Also, in an interview that Sinikka gave to a Finnish magazine when she was in her 60s, she said that she was 17 when she got married to him, and that was the main reason that her mother was hesitant to let her get married. But she got over that hesitation. We'll get to that later. Also, the newspapers that reported on their marriage said that he was 27. However, in that same interview with the Finnish magazine in 2017, she confirmed that her husband was in fact 32 when they got married. She wasn't trying to expose him for anything. She was actually answering a question about her husband's background, pointing to their marriage certificate, which said that he was a 32-year-old traveling performer and African prince. Now that the discrepancies are out of the way, Jet magazine called it another beauty. So they got married in January of 1954. Then by April, Sinikka was gone back home, to Mama, as the newspapers reported. And what is up with the African princes who wanted to join the damn circus? According to an animal tamer who was quoted in the interview that Sinikka did when she was an older woman, to be an African prince and join the circus was a common thing. And how about Sinikka? According to her, she had a career in show business. She was the girl who got dunked in water when someone hit a target with a ball, but okay, show business. Anyway, that's what she was doing after she left him, you know, on her single independent woman thing. When the couple met, she was 17 years old and working as a bank teller. The prince met her on the job when he came in to make a transaction. Now, this is a tiny article in the April 24th, 1954 edition of The State, but it kinda says a lot. Quote, she said she knew soon after the wedding the marriage would not last and then decided to come home to Finland and think it over, end quote. So pretty much she knew right away the marriage wouldn't last, so she went home. But she went home to think it over. Is it just me, or does it sound like she knew that she wasn't done. This article also reveals that her divorce procedure was going to be very easy, since she said that the marriage wasn't even valid in Finland. Seneca said that all she was going to do was remove Mrs. from her name, and voila, divorced. I mean, who needs those pesky lawyers and divorce decrees, right? Now, in the same time frame that Jet magazine reported on this couple, so did the Record Journal newspaper. They were reporting on the same story, but the newspaper had a few more details. They added that she was scantily clad at her new job as a fairgrounds mermaid. But what I found to be particularly interesting was that the prince's parents were so supportive of his efforts to get his wife back that they sent her, quote, several pieces of solid gold jewelry. You mean the king and queen didn't find him a good African princess instead? Yeah, don't ever be surprised to see Africans who are not invested in keeping things African. In the end, she left to go live in his palace in Africa, and her mother is quoted as saying, quote, and this time, it is definite, end quote. Is it just me, or do you get the vibe that her mother was pimping her for African gold? Well, all of that catches us up with the Jet magazine story. But here is something that caught my eye. 20 years later, a quote from Seneca appears in this 1974 edition of the San Francisco Examiner. They had a pretty neat feature called The Question Man, in which one question is posed to different people and the readers got to see the responses. Well, the question to Seneca and many other ladies on the last week of 1974 was, your husband ever look at another woman? Her answer was, quote, why, certainly he would. He looks at a lot of other women. He does a lot of looking, in fact. He notices blondes mostly. Tall, thin blondes. I see him doing it all the time. No, I don't get annoyed. I'm not jealous. He's just looking. He would never do anything. If he does, I don't know anything about it. They say what you don't know doesn't hurt you. I don't want to know. End quote. In a possibly unrelated turn of events, she and the prince were divorced 2 years later. Now, we're done with their story, but I have to go back to that San Francisco Examiner feature and show you this one woman's response to the question. Here's what Janice Lopez had to say. Tell me what you think about it. Remember, the question is, your husband ever look at another woman? She said, quote, yes, he would. He'd do it in a minute. But don't get me wrong, he's particular. Not just with anybody. You know what I mean? She'd have to have a good shape and a good personality. You're talking about if he'd ever cheat on me, right? It depends on what you mean by cheat. Like, he would, but he'd tell me about it. If they tell you about it, it's not cheating. End quote. Please tell me what you think about that. If he tells you, it's not cheating. Is that how you all feel? Anyway, I have actually published another story about an African prince who married a white woman back in 1901. Their union certainly didn't last for 20 years, but you can see that story for yourself here. I will also leave a link to it in the description box. My sources for this story are Jet Magazine Archives 1954, the Honolulu Advertiser Archives 1954, the Record Journal Archives 1954, the San Francisco Examiner Archives 1974, and Ilta Sanomat Finland Archives 2017. If you want text notifications so that you can get a text 15 minutes before I release a video or 15 minutes before I live stream, simply send a text to 786-632-2135 to let me know that you want text, and you will get an outgoing text message 15 minutes before I have a new video release. If you have a business, product, service, YouTube channel, or social media account that you would like to promote on my channel, email me at tiwan@taisaidwhatTai said.com to to get rates for advertising on my community tab, my live streams, and/or my edited videos, just like this one. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ty Said What Ty Said channel. Please leave a thumbs up and comment so that we can get a discussion going. And share this video on all of your social media, especially your Facebook. That really helps me out a lot. And subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know when my next video is ready for you. And if you don't like what I'm saying, but you love it, feel free to hit that applaud button just below your video screen there and send me some
donations.
Yeah, baby. See you on the next video.